She was soon joined by young women attracted by her way of life. Living, working and praying together, this small group achieved a remarkable amount of good in the school, in the parish and in the workplace. In St Chad's parish, with the help of Father Gaudentius and Father Crossgill, Elizabeth founded a congregation of sisters who would bring the compassion of Christ to the suffering and deprived she saw all around her.
Sometimes a shuttle flies out, gives some poor woman a clout. There she lies bleeding, but nobody's heeding who's going to carry her out. Poverty, poverty.
Early in 1851, Elizabeth and companions rented a small house in Stock Street. Here they lived according to a fixed timetable of prayer and work under Elizabeth's direction. In this house, in simplicity, poverty and obscurity, the congregation of the Sisters of the Cross and Passion was born.
Well, this is one of the historic places, for our congregation, and in fact the cradle of our Passionist sisters. It was here to this city that we're looking at that Elizabeth came, and it was known as the Shock City of the Age in 1849. In this street here, Stock Street, she found lodgings. From the little house in number 58 Stock Street, she set out every day to walk to St Chad's, limping because of her tubercular knee.
On the 21st of November 1852, the first sisters received the religious habit in St Chad's Church. Elizabeth took the name Sister Mary Joseph. 2 years later, 6 were professed. Of these, only 2 persevered, Elizabeth Prout and Mary Taylor, both converts.
Elizabeth Prout's rule was different. There was no class distinction among her sisters. No dowry was required for admission. The sisters were to be self-supporting, doing any work in keeping with their religious state. At the time, this seemed revolutionary. Elizabeth was now offering religious life to anyone who felt called. Lack of money was no obstacle. This way of doing things gave rise to suspicion, endless calumny and constant criticism, all of which Elizabeth accepted as sharing in the passion of Christ.
What did Elizabeth Prout look for in her followers? A desire for self-surrender to God's love, devotion to our Lord in His passion, a spirit of selfless service. In the early years, the sisters served in Manchester, Levenshulme and Ashton-under-Lyme. In 1855, they went to Sutton, St Helens. In 1864, they moved to Bolton, a large manufacturing town, where they taught in schools, established a teacher-pupil training centre and opened homes for factory girls. The congregation began small, but Elizabeth dreamed of an international missionary congregation, limited only by the limits of the earth. In 1855, Father Gaudentius was missioned to America. He was replaced by another Passionist priest, Father Ignatius, formerly George Spencer. His colourful life and conversion was front-page news in every English newspaper, under the heading Aristocrat Turned Monk.
During the next 10 years, the strong support of Father Ignatius was vital. It was the most critical period of Elizabeth's own life and the life of the infant congregation. Her faith and courage were put to the test. She suffered criticism, slander, betrayal, isolation, and financial ruin, brought about by people she trusted. During all this time, she followed the advice of a good friend.
Humble silence. When you are looked upon as dead, then you will rise again.
And this is what happened. She was not broken. Her work endured. Undaunted by opposition and wretched health, Elizabeth set about revising the rule of the congregation. The final draft was presented to Rome and approved in 1863. In August of that year, the Congregation of the Sisters of the Cross and Passion was canonically established in Manchester by Bishop Turner.
For both Elizabeth Prout and Father Ignatius Spencer, it seemed that their mission in life was over. Within weeks, Elizabeth fell gravely ill. She died as the Angelus bell was ringing at the convent in Sutton on the 11th of January 1864. Later that year, Father Ignatius, on a journey in Scotland, fell suddenly ill by the wayside and was found dead. In 1973, the remains of Mother Mary Joseph, Elizabeth Prout, were exhumed from St Anne's Cemetery, Sutton. She was buried nearby in the new St Anne's Church, beside Blessed Dominic Barbary and Father Ignatius Spencer. The church and shrine are now a place of pilgrimage.
Elizabeth Prout was dead. Only a handful of sisters remained. But among them were exceptionally talented, vigorous, and inspired leaders. One such was Honora Chambers.
Another, Jane Dury.
Honora Chambers was a young Irish girl from County Clare, open-handed and merry-hearted. She took the name of Sister Mary Margaret. When she was 29, she became the Superior General. She was to lead and guide the congregation with vision and courage for many years.
Honora was a born leader, ideally suited to the challenge of stabilising and expanding the growing congregation. Her first daring venture was to make a foundation in Bulgaria in 1873, at the time of the Bulgarian atrocities. The mission flourished, but after 17 years, conditions were such that the sisters were forced to withdraw. Who could have foreseen that the Sisters of the Cross and Passion would return to war-torn Eastern Europe in the mid-1990s?